Hi, welcome or welcome back to Under the Canopy. I'm your host, Hannah Wen, and I'm hoping to understand what it takes to build a community. Today, we'll be joined again by Merrill Guerra, the owner of Dragonfly and Birch. Enjoy! Now, running a boutique like Dragonfly and Birch is a full-time job on its own, but for Merrill, it's actually her second current business, not her first. Before the crystals and the tea and the locally made gifts, there's a real estate brokerage that's been her bread and butter for over a decade. It's a pretty interesting pairing when you think about it. One business built on helping people find a home, and another built on helping people feel at home the moment they walk through the door. I wanted to dig into how these two worlds intersect and what it's like wearing both hats in the same small town. So let's shift gears. Meryl, tell us about Red Barn Realty.
So Red Barn Realty is, like you said, I've been a real estate agent for over a decade. And when I became a real estate agent, I always knew that eventually, once I got my kind of wings under me, I would have my own brokerage. Just the entrepreneur in me kind of demands that. Or I joke with my friends, like I'm not a good employee. I'd rather be the boss. I founded Red Barn Realty. And the reason I named it Red Barn was because at the time when we lived in Ypsilanti Township, we lived on 5 acres and we had a very cool little red barn that came with the
Oh.
property when we bought it. And we very quickly moved in 2 cows, a Highland and a Dexter, and then ended up getting a couple of llamas. And a bunch of chickens. As you can tell by Dragonfly and Birch, I like names that for businesses that are more, I don't know, reflective of me as a person than
Like the industrial
Guerra Realty.
style. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I can see
yeah.
that and I love it. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. That entrepreneur in you is really shining through. It's good to test it out and see where you're at, but then once you're ready, you just got to jump the risk and take it.
Yeah.
What pulled you into real estate and what made you stay long enough to become a brokerage owner?
I was in a transitional period
Mhm.
and kind of looking for what my next step was going to
Mhm.
be. And as I was evaluating different paths, I looked at real estate and it checked all my boxes.
Mhm.
One, real estate is an amazing, and this was before really all of the information on neurodivergence
Mhm.
just exploded. But it is an amazing career if you have
Mhm.
ADHD. There's always something new. Your days are always different, and there's always a new challenge to address. For me, I love the service part of helping
Mhm.
people. And then there was a very real factor of at the time, my kids were both teenagers. They're in junior high and high school. And it was very important for me to be able to be available to them
Mhm.
as a mom. My husband's an engineer. And so the nature of the work is he's, has to be away. And so I wanted to have the flexibility to be able to, go to my kids' events, chaperone trips, just be involved in their lives while they're still at home. The other part of that, having run a startup company that ended up closing down, when people talk about startup companies, those are you invest a lot of money and a lot of
Mhm.
time. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, which most of them don't,
Mhm.
then you learn big lessons. And I did not want to be in the position of having to invest the kind of capital and time that required. So again, real estate is ridiculously low investment
Mhm.
in terms of, getting your licensing and getting started. So it just kind of it made sense on so many different angles. And then I got into it and I really loved it
Mhm.
and was good at it. So
You were good at it. Yeah. And that leads me to my next question. You were top 250 out of 2,000 plus agents at one of Michigan's largest brokerages within just a few years. What do you think you did differently early on that got you to where you are today?
That's a really good question because I think again it was a combination of really having a good base of people to start with, but then really diving into the different marketing avenues and and taking advantage of the different opportunities. I will say, I started out as an agent at Reinhardt, and the broker in our office at the time, Dom Forge, she was just an amazing realtor and mentor,
Mhm.
and the environment of the office was a supportive one
Mhm.
where you could easily talk to, you know, literally we had in that office like superstar agents, and they would all be willing to, tell you what was working for them, what worked in the past, like give you advice. And I really think starting out in a collaborative environment like that, was one of the one of the keys to my success there as well. So, again, it's kind of like, it takes a village, but you have
Mhm.
to obviously, you have to work hard, and you have
Mhm.
to try a lot of different things. And again, it's you try things and you evaluate, see what works, and, keep using the things that work, and, pivot from the things that are not,
Mm.
and keep moving forward. So it's a combination.
Yeah, the people and honestly also your own critical thinking are very important. Now for like a more personal question, do you have a client story that stuck with you where like the sale wasn't simply a transaction but also something bigger to them and to you?
There were, though, that's a great question. And that is one of the things I think that is such an amazing thing about real estate is you really do have the opportunity to make such a positive impact in
Mhm.
people's lives. And I would say probably there are a couple of different experiences, but the one I would share is pretty early on in my career. I managed to, or I got some clients who
Mhm.
they were moving to the area. They're both artists, and they had started working with someone, and they didn't feel that that person was really listening to them. And they were looking at different bios, and I was on the board of the Creative Washtenaw, which is the used to be the Arts Alliance, now it's Creative Washtenaw, but it supports the arts and arts organizations within Washtenaw County.
Mhm.
And so they're like, "Oh, this person like works with the arts. They might understand us a little better." And I was worked with them to help. They found a house. It was, an unusual house. It was a duplex. They rented one side, or they lived in one side and were going to rent out the other, which was a great thing. But they were new to the area and they didn't know anyone. And so we just connected, and I invited them over, and we ended up creating just a very special friendship that has, lasted now, over a decade. And really just because, I was able to, like, they invited me to be part of that process,
Mhm.
but we connected, and just the friendship that came out of that was worth, a million times more
Mhm.
than, the commission that came from the sale of the house. So I think that was just it, like, it's the things like that that they're not quantifiable.
Yeah, on that same like line, as a realtor, you're constantly the first point of contact for people moving into or out of this community, like that couple who basically didn't know anyone, which is like difficult, right? Do you feel a responsibility there beyond just like closing the deal?
Hey, not so much responsibility
Mhm.
as a willingness to for people who are looking for it, to help them find resources and help them find those connections. And so, it's kind of like, I mean now, like, going back to the store, like when people come in the store who are new to the area, it's always like exciting for me if they have questions, and I can say like, "Oh, well, what are your favorite restaurants around here? Or have
Mhm.
you tried this?" Kind of the same thing, you know, in real estate, like helping them get to know the area and give them ideas on different, organizations that they can connect to, fun things that they can do. And it's all, because people are like ridiculously varied. So there's a million different directions. But I really do find like the people who kind of come into your life generally have there's usually some kind of overlap or connection that draws
Mhm.
us to each other.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's just kind of a natural part, especially like, and not every realtor is like that. Obviously, we're all different, but
Mhm.
for me, that was, just one of the perks of the job is helping people to connect and grow into the community.
Yeah, so, like, exactly like you said before, it's definitely not, like, a responsibility or, like, a challenge. It's more of, like, a way to connect to more people and grow your community and just share the love that you have for everyone. Yeah, that's great. And now for our final questions. These will be a little more general, but for all the young girls out there hoping to start businesses of their own, what advice would you give them?
Number one, always follow your gut. Like your gut is always right. And so whether it's your gut saying this is what I want to do, uh, even though it may not be something that either, your family or your community is used to seeing people do, or on the other side, like if as you're going through business and you say maybe this isn't right for me,
Mhm.
then again, following your gut, and learning to listen to that voice. It will it will steer you in the right direction. And then getting back to, building a support network, both
Mhm.
of people who can give you good advice on, whatever business that you want to get into, or, you know, just getting to know people in the industry that will serve you in so many different ways. And, you can start a relationship with someone just trying to get information that will turn into something that could, really benefit you or someone, or your business down the road. So again, it really gets back to that kind of, it takes a village. So
Mhm.
part of that is sometimes you have to look for and create your village.
Mhm.
But sometimes like the village is out there and you just need to find it and get involved. So I definitely highly recommend any kind of support organizations that people can identify and get involved in. And then as someone who, I have a hard time asking for help, I would encourage, young girls to like be comfortable asking for help. People are going to tell you if they can or they can't, but oftentimes even if they can't, they're going to steer you to a resource that may even be better than, the
Mhm.
one you reached out to. So like never be ashamed to ask for help. I guarantee you our male counterparts are not discouraged from asking for help. So absolutely feel comfortable and in doing that. And then just women are powerful.
They are.
Women really we rule the world, and we
Yes,
really
we do.
do.
Yeah.
And the thing is we don't rule it by force, we rule it by love.
Mhm.
And so if you lead with your heart and you lead with a desire you know, for growing your joy and joy in the world, and you'll be led to where you need to go. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
you won't learn hard lessons, but I always believe that the lessons that we have to learn will come to us. And the thing is, that's the other thing. When things happen that feel like they're setbacks, that is the universe saying there's a lesson here, you need to learn that.
Mhm.
So if you don't learn the lesson, the universe will bring it back to you, and you're gonna have the same setback until you learn that lesson. So get good at learning and identifying the
Mhm.
lessons, because they're all the setbacks, they're for you. They're not to punish you. They're for you, because the universe knows that you can handle it, and it's just waiting for you to learn that lesson. And
Mhm.
then you'll grow from that and be better and achieve the things
Mhm.
that you were meant to.
Yeah, I really feel like that speaks to me, especially like starting a podcast from scratch because it's hard to invest all this money and all this effort into something that might fail. It's hard to like have everyone post something publicly. It's hard to cold email everyone and like get ghosted. Like, but something that I also realized, like you were talking about, was that the mouth that does not speak does not get fed. And even if you don't get fed the first try, you just have to keep asking. Yeah. And what gave you the courage to take these risks and be entrepreneurial?
Ooh. Honestly, it doesn't feel like it was courage. It feels
Mm.
like it's just who I am. It's like I see something that needs to happen and I make it happen. And and I guess that's like I don't know if that's helpful or not for people because I know for some people like getting out there and like yourself and putting yourself out there like there's always a risk in that. And I guess, that's true. I've never really viewed it like that. I've just kind of, I think as, okay, so, and a little note about me, I process things verbally. So,
Mhm.
so we're having a little therapy session here
Yeah.
because I'm just realizing like, I think I just live in the present.
Mm.
Like, trust me, I've got, I have anxiety and I have all the things. So there are lots of things that I worry about and toss into the future. But I think when it comes into my businesses, I don't worry about so much where it's going. I worry about like specifics, like, what different things have to happen. But I think for me, it's more like I just have this like need to run the project and then let the project go where it kind of like it's supposed to go. And so my energy that's going, into the future is more about problem solving challenges, not so
Mm.
much worrying about whether it's going to work or not.
Yeah, so, like, you have more of a mindset that's like, the only way out is through, so I have to do
Yeah,
it or else I'm not gonna get out. Yeah, and
it's a
that's
really
powerful.
well put.
Yeah. Mhm. And my final question, what do you hope people remember about Dragonfly and Birch and Red Barn Realty, and not just about the items sold or the real estate, but about what you've built?
I will be the first to tell everyone like I make mistakes, lots of them, all the time. But I operate out of integrity. And so, when I do make a mistake, I own up to it and try to correct for it, apologize for it. But so I think for me, like it's a combination of one, seeing that no matter what happened, like I tried to make the world a better place. I tried my best to do the best for my clients. I tried, I'm trying with Dragonfly Birch to create a space that supports community and connection and brings joy to people's lives. So, you know, I guess that's what I hope people will think is that like that I left the world a better place than I found it.
That kind of, like, reminds me of this story that I heard the other day about Buddha's death. He was poisoned by someone, and it wasn't, like, intentionally poisoned, and the lesson in that story was that it's the intention that counts, not the result. Either way, you had the intention to make the world a better place, and that's really what matters because, like, you care, and I'm pretty sure that you are making the world a better place, and I'm sure that you'll leave, like, your print on the world, and yeah, I just love Dragonfly and Birch.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on this podcast. That brings us to the end of this Under the Canopy episode. If you found value in this episode and want to hear more, kindly subscribe or follow and leave a review. Hope to see you soon on next week's episode.